Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hello folks, we are back in Wisconsin today talking again about Terrell Thomas. If you haven't seen my first video, I will leave the link to it below and the information below here, the video. And below, if you go down below the video, there's a box with the information. I will leave a link there to the first video. But basically, this is a case where this gentleman that you're looking at right here, Mr. David Clark, was charged with overseeing the county jail in Milwaukee. And while, during this period of time, there's been other deaths. We'll get to that at the end of the article. But Terrell Thomas recently, in 2016, was put into a cell for 7 days and the water was shut off. And he died of dehydration. Okay, this is a willful act. Somebody did this willfully. And as I said, this is not the only death under his watch. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some stuff here today. I'm going to show you the article. We're going to see some things that Scott Walker has to say. And we're just going to kind of go over this. Madison, AP, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker said Wednesday that he won't remove Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark from office over the death of an inmate who was denied water for 7 days. Walker said that he has the authority to remove Clark. He doesn't feel it's his job. He acknowledged that reports about the 2016 dehydration death were concerning, but said it's up to voters to decide Clark's fate and judge his oversight of the jail. I am not in a position, to say, he said, adding that historical practice has been to defer to voters. Voces de la Frontera, an immigrant rights group, petitioned Walker Wednesday to use a law that gives him authority to remove negligent county officials from office. Executive Director Christine Newman-Ortiz said at a news conference that the group doesn't expect Walker to heed their call to fire Clark, but wants to remind the governor of his authority. We want to highlight that he does have the power, and based on the statutes, Clark has given him a basis to remove him from public office, she said. And a spokeswoman for Clark did not respond to a message seeking comment on the petition. Clark has said little publicly about the inmate's death. Walker said the only time he remembers a governor considering removing a county official from office was when former Governor Jim Doyle sought the removal of Calumet County District Attorney Kenneth Kratz, who sent sexually explicit texts to domestic violence victims whose cases he was prosecuting in 2010. So, sexting warrants the governor possibly taking action, but a willful act of killing somebody by dehydration doesn't? Okay, anyways, the only time it was considered ultimately, the individual pulled out and it was because of sexting, so it was a much different situation, Walker said. Walker, a Republican, and Clark also aligned politically. While Clark ran in Milwaukee County as a Democrat, he has risen to fame as a brash right-wing pundit and is a vocal supporter of Republican President Donald Trump. Some conservatives are trying to recruit Clark to run for U.S. Senate next year against the Democratic incumbent, Senator Tommy Baldwin. Oh yes, that's what we need. We need this guy going to the U.S. Senate. This guy who doesn't care that his deputies are in the jail killing people by dehydration. Oh, yes, we definitely need this guy in Washington. Oh my Lord, you gotta be kidding me. Walker says he doesn't make decisions based on news stories and wants to look at the scientific report about the death. I've read some of the stories, he said. I don't make decisions based on what I hear in stories. I want to look at the scientific report, and I haven't analyzed that yet. Thomas's autopsy, which was released in September, concluded he died from profound dehydration with bipolar disorder as a contributing factor. Democratic state lawmakers have also called on Walker to remove Clark. Thomas's death was one of 4 in the Milwaukee County Jail in the last 6 months. Okay, people? Is this really somebody that we want to be trying to send to Washington? I mean, really? So, this is Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. The one that says that the only time that the governor has considered using his power to remove a public official was back when Jim Doyle was governor, when he was considering removing Ken Kratz for sexting, his sexting scandal. So does that mean that in Scott Walker's mind, a sexting scandal is worse than deputies at a county jail willfully and basically knowingly and willfully cutting off water to an inmate so that he dies? These things seem like somewhat equatable to him. I don't know. This guy is very disturbing, people. This guy is extremely, extremely off his freaking rocker. I don't know what the heck's the matter with him. But if he can equate, if he can somehow rationalize that Kratz's sexting scandal is worse than this, he's got a screw loose. Something doesn't compute in his brain right. And this guy's got problems too, people. This guy here, Mr. Clark, has got problems too. Seriously. He's had 4 deaths in his jail in the last 6 months, and he has not done a thing. After the first 3, he allows somebody to be dehydrated. He allows somebody in his jail to be locked in a cell for 7 days without water, and he doesn't take an interest in it. He was charged with overseeing this county jail, and he's not doing it. He's not doing anything. He's clearly not doing anything. 4 deaths in 6 months, people. It's scary. Anyways, so I implore anybody in Wisconsin, do not vote for this man. This man is not a good man. Okay? Maybe if he takes his job seriously and starts running his county jail the way he's supposed to and making it less of a disgrace, then maybe we can consider it. But at this point in time, he's a freaking disgrace. Because this is what it comes down to for me. Do we really want this guy who can't even do the job that he's charged with now going to Washington to be put on the Senate where his job is even all the more important when he can't even do the one that he's charged with now? Okay, so that's my main point, folks. That's about it for today. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and more videos coming in the future.